Well, it was $8,000 for this 1-year policy for an Aston Martin Rapide that cost about $30,000. So that was an unexpected expense. When I travel, I tend to try to buy a car instead of renting it and flip it afterwards. This is made easier because I have a dealer license, and so I can do this in the course of my business, and I've done this a number of times for different car events and come out quite ahead, and also been able to drive a car that's way cooler than a traditional rental car. However, I wanted to try it overseas. I was doing a trip for the ages, an automotive trip to end all automotive trips, and I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. Called a friend of mine who's kind of my brother from another mother, and I said, if money was no object and you could just do whatever you wanted for a car trip, like what would you do? And he said, I'd go to Scotland, I'd rent an Aston Martin and tour around there in the Aston Martin, stay at bed and breakfasts, and go to distilleries. I said, great, cool, thanks for the idea. Do you want to come? He goes, I don't know if I can get off work, whatever. So me and my wife booked a trip to Scotland for 8-9 days, and I vowed to make this work. So I started looking, and probably booked this about 6 months in advance, and started looking for cars. And I've got a fair number of industry contacts over in the UK and in Europe, and I started hitting up all of them and trying to buy a car over there that I could arbitrage in some way, either something that was at least 25 years old that I could then import to the United States and then resell here, or something that I could resell over there if I bought it at wholesale. In the course of this, somebody did say, well, you can just use my wife's Ferrari California because she's going to be pregnant or having a baby, so she's not going to drive it at all. And I said, well, thank you, but I really don't like driving other people's cars because if anything goes wrong, it's just a difficult situation. Because if something goes wrong, that like the transmission, that's not my fault, it was bound to happen, but it was in my care, that's awkward. If something goes wrong that I caused, it's a little bit easier, but it's also not my car, so it's like, well, it's just sticky. And I really was determined to find a British car to do the British tour with. Despite all my efforts, I could not find a car on the wholesale market that made sense. And during this time, the dollar kept weakening and weakening. And just about a month before my trip, I ended up winning an Aston Martin Rapide on collecting cars. Now, it was this beautiful color of almond green with chocolate brown interior. I nicknamed it Almond Joy, and it was a joy. It was higher miles, but it was absolutely perfect, well-serviced, and brilliant. So we flew into Glasgow. I can't pronounce it, or I can't even pronounce Nevada right. People get after me for that, so I'm not going to try. We flew into that city in Scotland. Somebody that I had made friends with over the course of this search, who also had a dealer license, transported the car up to Scotland for me because I bought it down in the UK. It was stored at Henry's Car Barn. But getting the insurance was incredibly difficult, something I probably should have researched before I did this because I had already bought the car. Okay, now I've got to get insurance. Nobody wanted to insure it for a number of reasons. One, I'm a US resident, and people in Europe and the UK think that US drivers are terrible, and rightly so they don't want to insure them at all. Two, it was an exotic, so they didn't want to insure an Aston Martin. Three, it was too short term. Nobody wanted to insure something for 2 weeks, so I ended up having to buy a year-long policy and paying in advance and then canceling after to get the pro rata refund. Well, it was $8,000 for this 1-year policy for an Aston Martin Rapide that cost about $30,000. So that was an unexpected expense. Not only that, it was about $1,000 to have it transported up to Glasgow. The trip itself was brilliant. We put over 1,000 miles on it in a couple of days. We drove most of the North Coast 500. I got used to driving right-hand drive car very quickly because the roads there are only about 3 inches wider than the smallest lorries, and the biggest ones just, It's interesting. Both of the mirrors on my car had been repaired previously. You could see where they like JB welded them back on, and I'm like, I can understand why. It was a harrowing experience for the first couple days. And I got thrown right into the deep end of the pool because we were on the A5 and it was nuts. Nuts. Cliffs on one side, lorries on the other, no room to spare, and already disorienting because I'm on the right side of the car. Beautiful trip, unbeatable weather. It was sunny and warm every single day, which I hear never happens there. Got all done, sent the car back to Henry's Car Barn, had them list it on Collecting Cars, and resold it. So the goal of all this was to see if I could beat renting a car over there. Now, renting a car was prohibitively expensive as well. It was about $1,500 a day. And most of the rental car companies I found had absolutely abysmal reviews, and it was very difficult to see if the companies were actually the companies that own the car or a lead generation site for somebody who did. So I wasn't sure if I rented an Aston Martin, if an Aston Martin would actually show up at the airport, and if so, if it would make it the whole 1,000 miles that I needed it. So buying a car controlled that factor. If I know that I can get a car that's well serviced and I can make sure that it's there. Let's see, it would cost me about $15,000 for this rental all in for the week. So my goal was to beat that. Surely it can't cost me more than that to own a $30,000 car for a week. I'm a professional. This is what I do for a living. This should come out in my favor. Well, sort of. I only sold the car for about $1,500 less than I paid for it in theory on the auction. The hammer price to the hammer price was $1,500 difference. However, I learned a lot of things along the way, and I've got to look at my notes for all the costs because they were crazy. $2,200 auction fee to win it, $8,100 for insurance minus a $7,500 refund, so about $600 for that, $1,100 twice for transport to and from, $500 for road tax, which I found out later that I never needed to pay because the seller never ever transferred the V5 registration. So the car was his the entire time, and I found this out after I got it back and went to sell it. Now, the registration, the V5, is a little bit different in the UK than titles in the US, but yeah, he owned the car the whole time, so he got the refund for the road tax that I paid. Whatever. Different story for a different day. Let's see, $964 for Henry's Car Barn for them to photograph and list it on Collecting Cars. And then there was probably a $500 cumulative transactional fees because of all the international wire transfers and stuff. And of course, the exchange rate came into play as well, too, because when I bought the car versus when I sold it, the exchange rate thankfully went in my favor. So I made a little bit of money back on that end. At the same time, tariffs were put in place, so it's a really good thing that I didn't buy a car to import back to the US and try to take advantage of that arbitrage because I would have been 15% behind the 8 ball right off the bat. So my total out-of-pocket cost was $8,250 to drive this $30,000 Aston Martin for 9 days. So definitely not my best outing in terms of that experiment. It was cheaper than renting a car from one of these outfits. However, after I did this, a little company called Scotland Car Hire reached out to me and were like, oh, we have an Aston Martin V8 Vantage manual. It's only 200 pounds a day. I was like, oh, okay. And it was like $50 extra to deliver it to the airport. So I could have rented a manual V8 Vantage for the whole week for like, I don't know, $3,000 or something like that, all in. Yeah, I guess I failed at internet searching, or maybe I did find them, but I was skeptical because they only had one review on Google. So I'm like, surely this isn't a real company. They're 1/5 of the price of everyone else. Or maybe I just wanted to try to, prove to myself that I could do better than renting a car. So for the sake of the story, I'm going to keep telling myself that that company wasn't real, and I did win the game and come out ahead of renting a car, but it really did cost quite a lot of money. But, sometimes you just have to take a car guy trip for the ages, and you tell yourself, as Jan Levinson would tell Michael, it costs what it costs.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Bridgestone, and the most exciting tire from Bridgestone right now is the brand new RE71RZ. That's their extreme max performance summer tire that is championing pole position. It's built for the grassroots motorsports crowd and offers much better on-track wear patterns than we saw out of the amazing RE71RS that it is now replacing. It uses Bridgestone's enlightened technology to deliver long-lasting performance and much more responsive control. And the RE71RZ is now available across North America in 45 sizes since December 31st of last year. This new tire meets all requirements for SCCA racing and will be eligible for competition use in 2026 for solo and time trials. This new tire is 0.74 seconds faster on a dry lap and 75/10 of a second faster in a wet lap compared to the outgoing RE71RS. This really is an amazing new sports car and supercar tire from Bridgestone, so check it out now, along with everything else that we love about Bridgestone at the link in the description below.